everybody, and welcome back to a new video, beautiful souls. There are so many things that I would like to talk about in this video, and I will do my best to include everything in this half an hour, or I have no idea how long this is going to be. There are so many things happening, you don't even know what to prioritize, what to discuss. But there are many energies, many angles, and they are kind of all intersecting each other. They are all pointing in one direction, and one thing is very sure, is that there's a huge energetic shift that is happening right now. And today is the 21st of December as I'm recording this video, which is a very big astronomical event and a huge turning point in humanity's path, humanity's journey, and the history of our collective, let's just say. I already made a video about the 21st of December, this winter solstice, so if you haven't watched that, then you can go back and watch it. It was just the previous one before this. And I talked about the energies of this huge shift, and I will be talking about those energies today as well a little bit, and some downloads that I received related to this event, because we are not only talking about today's energetic shift, like with the winter solstice, we are talking about an elongated effect that will affect at least January and February next year as well. And it will play a big role, and it will have a big significance when it comes to the choices that humanity is making at this time. So it is important. It is an important turning point. So I received some downloads in regards to that from Source Energy. I specifically connected to Source when I was asking questions, but I guess we can call these galactic downloads as well that came through. Okay, so this video is gonna be a mix of topics. So first of all, I wanted to talk about these Ascension upgrades that the Pleiadians were talking about in my most recent channeling, which I shared in that video. They were advising us to consume as much water as possible because there are so many upgrades, light codes that are coming towards Earth, that are being sent from the central sun, and that might affect our physical vessels. So we might experience physical symptoms, ascension symptoms. I was very fatigued yesterday, for example, and before that I had this horrible migraine. So these symptoms can appear, and they were saying that we should consume a lot of water. Now, some of you were asking if we should blast the water before starting to drink it. Now, I do that sometimes, like just charging the water with positive energy and with love frequency. I sometimes do that with my tea as well, so you can definitely do that. But then that intention has to come from the heart. And that pure, unconditional love frequency has to come from the center of your energetic system, from the heart chakra. So that's why it's important, the mind-heart coherence, because the vibrational frequency that the heart resonates on is very powerful. It's a very high vibration compared to the mind. So there's no comparison between the two of them. The mind is nothing compared to this frequency. So make sure that it comes from here, from a pure place. And in regards to the Ascension, the other thing that I wanted to say, there are so many things that I'm hearing from different sources, from these spiritual communities in regards to this Ascension, and let's call it transcendence because that's more accurate. This transcendence that is happening after the 21st of December, and that some people, some souls might be left behind. It is true that yes, humanity is at crossroads. It all depends on our free will, but I don't know if I can call it misinformation, misconception, this worrying that some of us might not make it and we're gonna be left behind. You know, there's this ascension to the new earth, which I already said that the whole concept around going physically from one place to another is not accurate, because we are not talking about a physical ascension here. We are talking about an elevation in consciousness, a shift in consciousness, an elevation on a consciousness level of humanity. That means that there's an elevation in perception as well. There's an expansion in perception. So talking about that and going back to my drawing that I did the other day, so let's say that there are different layers, different levels of consciousness, different dimensions as well, because each level of consciousness is basically a representation of a different dimension. And there's source energy. And even like the idea of source is not something that is outside of these vibrational levels. It is everywhere, so it's omnipresent. But for the sake of understanding, I put source there. So let's say that these are different dimensional levels, and then they represent different layers of reality, because reality is subject to the dimensional perception. So my reality is different to your reality, and that is all subject to the perception. And that depends on your level of consciousness. If it's a third dimensional one, if it's a fourth or fifth dimensional one, we will perceive reality differently, okay? So this is the matrix, let's just say. This is 3D, and then there is the fourth dimension here. This is the fifth dimension, and then this is the sixth dimension, so on, so on. This is a mirrored image, by the way, so even I needed to write source the other way around so it can be readable, like with the mirror. But anyways, so these are different dimensional levels, okay? So when we are talking about ascension or transcendence in this consciousness, this shift, then we are not going from here to there. That's not accurate. And then going from here to there. No. When we are talking about the elevation of the consciousness, we are basically talking about the expansion of the consciousness, which means that when I graduate from the third density, third dimension, to the fourth dimension, then my consciousness level will expand, and it will include the third dimension as well, but it will have a higher dimensional perspective from the fourth dimension. So I will be able to see things from a higher perspective, things that those that are in the matrix are not capable of seeing. And when I graduate from the fourth dimension to the fifth one, then my consciousness level will include the third, the fourth, and the fifth dimension as well, and then so on. So as the consciousness expands further, the perception of it will expand further as well, and its perception will include all these different layers, and it will have a clarity and a perspective on all these different layers. So it's not like, oh, I left the third dimension behind and now I'm in the fourth dimension, and then nothing really matters what is in the third dimension any longer. Yes, it does matter, because you needed to integrate first this, and then you are still including this, but your perception of it is so expanded that you are seeing things from a higher perspective, as I said. So it's almost like a labyrinth, right? When you're in the middle of it, you don't see the way out, but then as your understanding expands, your consciousness level expands as well. So it's not like it's going to become insignificant what is happening on the 3D level. And if we don't enjoy the 3D level, it means that we haven't integrated it yet. So we cannot expand further. We cannot have that higher perception. So I used to say that a lot as well, even in my videos, that I'm so done with this dimension. I'm so done with this matrix. I really want to get out. But the thing is, the more we want to get out, the more we want to escape from this 3D level, the less we are escaping it, because that is hindering our capability to integrate it. So it is true that I'm done with the 3D, but only one part of the 3D, because there are so many aspects of the 3D that I haven't discovered yet. And I'm not done with those parts yet. So there's so much to learn. And this third dimensional reality is offering that. And yes, I can have a fourth dimensional consciousness or fifth dimensional perception, but we are creating through the third dimension. So when energy is being transformed into matter, then we can talk about creation, right? And that is the purpose of being here. And that is what matters, to turn energy into matter. And this is what the beauty of this dimension is, to use our five senses and to enjoy this dimension as much as possible. And yes, we are done with one part of it. We are done with the corruption, with the lies, with those negative polarities, with feeling stuck and limited and enslaved in our 9-to-5s. But that's not what this reality is about. There's so much more to discover. And going back to those that are afraid of being left behind, your ascension is up to you and the free will of your soul. It is not up to something that is external to you, okay? And we have to let go of this idea that we don't have free will and then we are just floating around with no purpose, and there's something else, like another force that has power over us. We can believe that as well, but the reality is that we do have free will on a soul level, but free will comes with responsibility. So like even admitting that you have free will, it is a responsibility. The responsibility of the knowing that you create your reality. And you, based on your energetic frequency and level of consciousness, you are emitting a certain vibrational frequency. And because energy attracts energy, you are naturally being drawn to those energies that are matching your frequency. That is what the law of attraction is, if you want to talk about it in simple terms. So you are naturally being drawn to certain energies, and certain energies are being naturally drawn to you. It happens both ways. Same happens with people. You are being drawn to certain people are being drawn to you. So this is what is happening with these upgrades as well. If those upgrades that are coming from the central sun are an energetic match to your vibration, then you will receive them. Then the upgrade will happen, and it happens naturally. So there's no such a thing that you're gonna be left behind. That's not the point. The point is to work on your energetic vibration. And being afraid and being worried about being left behind, that is not helping you, because that is lowering actually your frequency. So have faith that you are knowing and your soul is knowing what to do. And your soul is an attribute of God, is an expression of God, it's a one perception of God out of billions and trillions of other souls. So God is experiencing and expanding through you. God has trillions of aspects and we are all interconnected. So my expansion is your expansion as well. And it all happens naturally. So the moment that you are aligned with your soul and the direction of your soul, then your expansion happens naturally. Your evolution as well, spiritual evolution happens naturally. So please do not worry about being left behind, because what do we mean by being left behind? Like, we are not going anywhere. We are just expanding. And talking about energies and expansion and energetic system, chakra system, the other thing that I wanted to talk about is Australia. So there is an interesting thing that came into my mind these days, and there was some information that I came across which I didn't even talk about because I forgot about that. But our planet has its own chakra system. Gaia has her own chakra system as well. And what is interesting is that nothing is a coincidence and nothing just happens randomly. So what is happening in Australia does have to do with the expansion and humanity's setting boundaries, stepping into our power. And why is that? Is because Australia is the solar plexus of the earth. So it's so interesting because these dark forces, let's call them the cabal, they know about these planetary events. So these very draconian measures and rules that are being enforced on Australians does have a significance, because overcoming these measures, the Australians are helping the whole collective. And that doesn't mean that the whole responsibility is on them. But the fact that this is happening exactly on that spot on Earth where we have the solar plexus, and I talked about that previously already, that humanity is learning to stand up for itself and to set boundaries. And if we manage to balance out and to heal the solar plexus, then we can move up to the heart chakra. And that would mean a more compassionate, more love-based living. But first, now, there's a lot of work that needs to be done on the solar plexus of the earth. So it is all up to the people in Australia and their free will if they want to break free and to step into their personal power and to say no. But their stepping into their power will trigger the awakening of the whole collective, the awakening of humanity. And there are so many souls, evolved souls, that have chosen this experience in Australia. There are many light workers that, based on their free will, have chosen this experience to balance out the solar plexus of the earth. So Australia has a very, very big significance because of its indigenous people as well. So nothing is a coincidence. And these dark forces, the cabal, they have this ancient knowledge as well about the different portals and energetic centers of the earth. So they are enforcing these measures on a small group of people in Australia and testing these measures and the response to it before introducing it to the other parts of the world. But this is one part. But the other motive, the other agenda is to enforce these measures specifically on Australia, because energetically they want to take control of the solar plexus of the earth. They want to control the energetic center of the personal power of humanity. And by doing that, they are trying to prevent humanity from ascending, transcending to the heart chakra, to the fifth dimensional, frequency of love that the heart chakra is representing. And knowing about the motives and the agenda of the cabal, they are normally very, very patient, because starting from 2020, they have had this 10-year agenda that in 10 years, they're going to introduce this great reset. So they keep saying that by 2030, you will own nothing and you will be happy. So they have this 10-year agenda where slowly, they will introduce different measures, and it will not be so evident for humanity. So they're not going to rebel against it because they're not going to notice. However, what is happening in Australia is the exact opposite of that patience, because things are happening so quickly. And there's this push, this sudden push for these measures. And it's becoming more and more evident for every human being what is this plan about and what they are planning to introduce in the other parts of the world as well. So that's why Australian people are rebelling, and we can see these riots and demonstrations as well. So that's why I'm thinking that there might be a positive influence in all this when it comes to the speeding up. We can call them whiteheads, because these dark forces would not intensify things in such a short period of time, because they know that that's going to create counterforce. So they are shooting themselves in the foot with this, because the more intensified these measures are, the more this will trigger Australian people to start thinking. And the same is happening in Europe as well now. So whatever the reason is behind this, it can be a positive influence, a whitehead influence, but it can also be a kind of glitch in their plan, that things are not really going the way they want them to go. And I talked about that in a video recently, which I posted like a couple of days ago on my uncensored channels. I'm gonna link the videos in the description box below so you can watch them. And the reason behind this pushing can be also that they are running out of time and they want everyone to be injected in the next 2 years. There can be different motives, but what is sure that is happening is that people are waking up, and there's this pushback, and we are seeing more and more protests all around the world. And there's this shift in energies and this turning point that is happening due to this winter solstice. And there's this pushback, and this will trigger even more and more of these demonstrations all around the world. And the other interesting thing is that the heart chakra of the planet is located in the UK. So I wouldn't be surprised if we would be hearing more and more about the UK as well, and if they played a very big part in this awakening process as well. And everything that happens in the UK, especially London, is very close to my heart. And just a few days ago, there was like a huge protest as well in London, like thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people on the street. And it is happening. They're not going to put up with these restrictions. And I know how freedom-oriented London is and what an open-minded city is, because I lived there for almost 8 years. So that's why it's very, very close to my heart. And it's also not a coincidence that on the heart chakra, on the land of the heart chakra, is located the financial center of the globe, which is London, the city of London, where the biggest tax invasions happen. And it's also not a coincidence that, you know, the family that is ruling the UK, we know who I'm talking about, they have chosen that land as their land, you know, the heart chakra of the earth, of the planet. So it is all interconnected. And yes, the UK is a hotspot for this cabal. And it's interesting because I did have a very hard time there while living there. It was very, very challenging for me. There was definitely some very dark energy about London, but I couldn't point it out what it was. And I remember back in 2015, 2016, I met so many people that were representing that dark energy. And people were so immersed in this corporate world, in the finances, the material world, and I could never resonate with it. So now I understand what was the darkness about that place. But I remember I was unconscious about it, but I was so guided to move to that place, to live in London and to learn in that place. And my spiritual awakening as well happened there. So I met so many beautiful people as well, like really powerful light workers, and they were drawn as well to that place. And there's definitely a significance, a big significance in those powerful light workers living in London. So there are very beautiful and uplifting energies as well about that city, and it's so diverse and there are such beautiful places. So it is a great school to live in that place. If you can make it there, you can make it everywhere. And it was preparing me for so much. Maybe I'm gonna be back at some point. I'm not planning for now. And if I had to choose now, I would definitely live somewhere closer to nature. And I feel like this is the direction that humanity is going to. There will be big changes in regards to these big cities as well. And talking about changes, let's talk about the 21st of December a little bit more, because it's a big, big turning point. And it can be explosive and evident, but it can be subtle as well and steady progress as well. So regardless of the speed that we are going, this is a very big turning point. And these last few weeks of 2021, yeah, like this month, is super, super multi-layered, because there are so many astrological aspects that are happening at the same time. Astronomical as well, this winter solstice, and we have on the 24th, the Uranus, Saturn-Uranus square. So these two powerful planets that are representing two different and opposite attributes and different characteristics are squaring each other. Saturn is representing rules, regulations. Uranus is representing innovation, everything that is related to future, technology, freedom, free thinking. So these opposite aspects are coming together now, again, up for review. And I talked about that more in detail in my December energy update video. So these astronomical and astrological aspects can be the perfect recipe for something big to happen, maybe an explosive or shocking event, something that we don't expect, because Uranus likes to always bring things that are coming out of nowhere. So there's a big possibility. And remember that since 2012, the unfolding of the events and the outcome of certain things have changed completely, because things are not happening any longer in a linear fashion. So up to 2012, we could have predicted based on the energies what is going to happen. But then starting from that point, the planet's frequency has reached a point where we have many, many timelines that are available, multiple timelines, parallel realities on which we can jump anytime. So we can shift timelines, we can quantum leap, quantum jump. So we are talking about quantum future here and quantum reality. So we cannot really predict the future. However, there are certain scenarios that have the possibility to happen. And in the video that I made on my uncensored channels, I talked about some simulations, that there was this cyber attack that was simulated in the past year twice already. And whenever there's a simulation, that will always manifest as well and will become reality. So the simulation of this possible cyber attack recently happened in Israel, and the one before that, I think it happened this year or last year, I cannot remember, but it was called the Cyber Polygon. That was held by the World Economic Forum about a possible cyber attack as well. So I'm not gonna get into it, what was discussed there. If you want to understand it, you can watch my video. So knowing about the intense energies of the winter solstice and the Saturn-Uranus square and then all the planetary aspects, as I said, this is a perfect recipe for something to happen. So I thought I'm going to ask a few questions from source, and I received a few downloads, which I'm going to share with you in regards to this. So I was asking about the negative forces and their agenda. And the download was that the negative agenda has to run its course. So it will run its course, it will happen to a certain degree. And the other download was that the negative agenda will not unfold and it will not happen as they were planning it. So this was more like a confirmation of what I already thought. The other thing that I received was that the 21st of December is a powerful turning point, and there is a high possibility for an event to happen in the near future that will be manufactured. So I was specifically asking about it. It will be a natural event, a natural disaster like earthquake, volcano eruption, or floods, or other things, or it will be something that will be manufactured, so it will not be organic. And the answer was that it will be manufactured, it will not be natural. And we are not supposed to know what will happen. That was the other download. And we will get more information about this event on time. But there is a big chance for an event related to a cyber attack and or food supply, economy, and other things that cannot be disclosed. So I was specifically asking about scenarios. If it's something that is going to be related to lies being exposed, or like a UFO disclosure, or something related to the virus, or something related to this. And the answer was that it will be related to a cyber attack, economy, food supply, and other things that we're not supposed to know about. But it's almost like a domino effect. If the economy goes down due to a cyber attack, then it will affect the food supply as well. So they are kind of like interconnected with each other. Now, take it or leave it. This for me was more like a confirmation, because I already thought about these things because they were simulated. And think about, the pandemic was simulated as well. And then a few months later, it happened. So I wouldn't be surprised. And I was asking roughly about the date, because I did hear some sources talking about something happening before Christmas. So there might be an event that is taking place. So that is a possibility. However, what I received as a download was that based on the current energies, and these are current energies and can change anytime, there's a high chance that something like this will happen in 2022. And then I was asking roughly when in 2022, and the answer was that around January or February. So as I said, nothing is set in stone. Things can change because we are talking about quantum reality here, quantum shifts. However, what I noticed, and the more I'm researching the narrative, what I realized that they don't know either what is the narrative. So there is a subject to change for them as well, for the dark forces. They don't know exactly what scenario they're gonna use. And remember that I was talking about this little booklet that the Rockefeller Foundation published in 2010, and they were talking about different scenarios. And one of the scenarios was called Lockstep, where they are locking down the whole population because there's a virus. So we kind of know what they have in mind. However, the exact scenarios are still subject to change for them as well. But taking in consideration that they know that these energies around the solstice as well are super powerful, if they implement something in this period, they think that it's going to work in their favor. So that's why these energies are so significant, and these portals for them, because this is a portal. That's why solstices are known for rituals and then black magic rituals as well, because it's an amplifier of the energy. Whatever energy you are putting in is going to be amplified, be it negative or positive. So that's what I'm thinking that they are trying to harness. And the other question was about the white hats that I was asking. If they are really white hats that are working for the FBI, for the government, in different institutions that are trying to turn things around in our favor. And the download was that the white hats are indeed existing and they are contributing to a positive outcome and a positive timeline. However, some of the stories about them are psyops only and are not true. So unfortunately, like loads of these stories about the white hats that are taking care of everything are psyops, because they want us to believe that we don't have to do anything. Like we are arriving again back to that we don't have to take action. And that's the same programming in a different package, that the big brother is taking care of everything and you just have to sit back and wait. But the big brother in this case is not a negative force, it's a positive force. So we always have to use our discernment, and we have the capacity to discern and to differentiate falsehood from the truth. So use your inner compass all the time whenever you are receiving information, because your inner guidance will always say that, okay, something is not quite right. And then even like listening to this information, use your discernment. So take only what resonates with you. So there might be something that is coming, that is happening, but it will be a process of a mass awakening, and many people will awaken. Many will feel lost, but we are here and we can hold the line. We can help those that are feeling lost. We are not here to awaken people, because some of them are not supposed to be awakened in this lifetime, but we are here to assist, and we have all the tools. We are being prepared, and many times this is what the GFL and the pleiadians are telling us as well, that we don't need to worry because we know what we are doing. And in my previous video about this winter solstice, I pulled a card that was, I think it was at the bottom of the deck actually, and it was this judgment card. And what I didn't say actually about this card was that this is the card of a wake-up call. It is this desire for change in the collective, and this was at the bottom of the deck, but then also a huge wake-up call. So regardless of what happens and what will trigger this wake-up, for each of us individually and collectively as well, it will be a turning point that will affect the future of humanity right now. And we can choose between this transhumanist agenda, if we want to go down that road, or we are choosing a more heart-based living, a more love-based living. So I'm gonna pull a few cards and then I will finish this recording in regards to what I received as downloads. So extended guidance that goes with the downloads that I received. So Spirit, what do you have to say about this event? Okay, Ace of Pentacles. Aces are opportunities and they are new beginnings. So that can be actually a start of a new financial system or new currency as well. Okay, we have the Seven of Cups reversed. We have the Ten of Swords reversed as well. Eight of Wands reversed. And then we have at the bottom of the deck the Knight of Pentacles. So definitely something related to the economy and finances. I think this is what I'm understanding. The Eight of Wands reversed is signifying something that is not going to happen all of a sudden. There's going to be a transition that is not going to happen from one day to another. And it can also signify some frustrations in regards to that. And that might be, yeah, related again with the economy. And then we have the Ten of Swords reversed, which is great because in upright, it talks about giving up and surrendering, but in a negative way when you have no other choice. But in this position is about recovery, new hope, renewal, moving on, healing as well. Look, that person there is really defeated. Like, that is a final stage of a person when there's no more movement forward. But in reverse is the opposite of that. There's a new hope, and after hitting rock bottom, we can stand up and we can move on. And the only way is up after hitting rock bottom. And then we have the Seven of Cups, which in this reverse position is the end of illusion, because upright is about too many choices and being confused about those choices. And with this in reverse, we are moving into a space where we have more clarity, and we have a restored sense about the reality in which we are living in. So it's the end of illusion, basically, and definitely a new beginning. So Pentacles are about money or about economy, about finances. So I do believe that this does have to do with the financial system. And the other thing that I didn't say that I received about this thing that will happen was that it will mostly affect the US. And if we think about the Pluto return of the US, it would totally make sense that the US will be affected in 2022 because the Pluto return happens in February. So January, February, the whole year basically will be about financial restructuring. A new cycle begins when it comes to finances, and many experts are saying that actually the euro and the US dollar is going to go down very much. It's losing its value. It's just a question of time. So if you have been thinking about investing your money in precious metals or Bitcoin, I'm not 100% sure about Bitcoin, to be honest. My intuition is saying that I should not go down that road with it. So I'm not sure about cryptocurrency, but precious metals, definitely. So this is what I'm working on as well. So definitely invest your money because it will be a new beginning. And at the bottom of the deck, we have the Knight of Pentacles, which is about hard work. And this is about also patience when it comes to finances. So the return on the investment is not going to happen straight away. There might be delays, so we have to be patient. This is what the Eight of Wands is suggesting as well, that it's not going to happen so suddenly, but we have to think long term, like 10-20 years. And I think precious metals are very reliable in that sense. I'm not sure about cryptocurrency. As I said, I don't know much about it, but I believe that they will do everything to start regulating it. And that's why I'm feeling like it's not so safe, but I cannot give my opinion because I don't know much about cryptocurrency. So follow your intuition, okay? And be prepared for everything that is coming. And finance related things keep coming up in my readings, so there will be definitely something related to that. But I'm planning to do a 2022 forecast soon, so I will make a video about that, and I want to dive a little bit deeper into these things, finances and everything. And of course, I will channel information about 2022 and what is ahead. So that video is coming. So this is what I'm having for today. For now, this is what I received. If this has resonated with you, then you can feel free to share it with others. You can subscribe to this channel if you haven't done it yet. Please keep an eye on the other platforms as well, on my other channels, where I will be sharing more uncensored content. So if I don't see you before Christmas, I wish you a very, very happy Christmas. And I'm sending you much love. Take care of yourselves. And I cannot wait to see you next time. So kisses to you all.